This is Working for Progress, a podcast that connects us through conversations about how we craft our working lives and make progress. We'll be joined by our communities from Tribe Porty and Keystone. Tribe Porty is a community co-working space and creative hub. We are full of entrepreneurs, social enterprises, freelancers, charities, and SMEs. Keystone is the other social enterprise which supports women to reimagine their working lives. We do this by providing a holistic approach to business through courses, programs, mentoring, group coaching, and events.
Welcome to today's conversation. I'm Alice, the community manager at Tribe Porty.
And I'm Dani, founder and director of both Tribe Porty and Keystone.
Here at Working for Progress, we're all about connecting good people, sharing their stories, their challenges, and the progress they make for themselves and for others. We hope this podcast challenges your ways of thinking and inspires you to work for progress.
Working for Progress starts with simple pleasures, finishes in awe, and meanders through career journeys in between. Today we welcome Lorna Lythgoe, founder of the Good Life School and positive psychology coach. The Good Life School was created to help people get the best out of their lives through coaching and workshops. Welcome, Lorna.
Thank you, Dani. It's good to be here.
So, a nice, simple warm-up question.
Sure.
Tell us your 5 simple pleasures.
Ooh, I'm automatically going to say my dog because I absolutely dote on my wee poodle. Other simple pleasures, I think reading. I love just sitting and reading. Love being out in nature. This morning I went out to plant in the freezing cold, just putting some plants in the ground.
What did you plant?
I can't remember the name of it.
I need to get my head around what I need to be doing right now.
It wasn't anything that was season appropriate. I planted indoor plants whilst sat outside. Yeah. So and I guess it's good conversation, good people connection. Yeah, these are simple pleasures.
Yeah, these are our people. We know this. Can you tell us the values that you live by? And I know this is kind of natural for you. It's not natural for everybody, but I'd love to hear your values that you live by.
It's funny because I have actually written down 7 values I've identified, but right now I wouldn't be able to tell you what they are. What values do I live by? It's going to sound a lot like the simple pleasures, but I think, and now I'm going to just riff off the top of my head. Values I live by would be really tuning into who I am and what is the core of me, and then living in alignment with that. That's absolutely primary. And I notice that it always comes down to this sense of learning and growth and having impact in a way that's sort of in tune with what my strengths are. Connection. And one thing I do remember from a list was aesthetics, because I've come to realise that, like, some people, they're very sensitive to sound and things like that. For me, the ambience of a place, the feeling of vibrancy, of colour, of all this sort of thing, it matters. If I'm in a grey room, I feel constricted. So now it's about kind of tuning into the environment as well. Yeah.
Very good. I mean, the next question, we were talking about how your work embodies those values. I feel like maybe you've come to your work because of those values, but maybe you want to talk about how you embody those values in your work that you do.
It's essential. I couldn't possibly, I couldn't work without doing so in a way that embodies my values. When I've tried to do that, I sort of itch. I feel my skin's on fire. It doesn't work. So I guess that, in my younger years, I wasn't trying to develop a career and get into, what I was going to do when I grew up type stuff. I had an absolute burning desire to learn everything, go everywhere, meet everyone, and just, grow and expand. So it sort of set me off living in other countries, doing things like, when I'm 18, being a horse riding instructor at a summer camp, going off and living in Japan as an English teacher, ended up studying a master's in anthropology, then going to South America and, volunteering and studying, and then training in radio journalism, and then going into, I loved teaching. So I kept coming back to teaching. All these things kept bringing me back, because that's the bit where you connect with people and you actually add value to someone's life. But then fast forward now to my 40s, and I've taken those experiences, and I now find myself as a psychotherapist and a coach, and it's that sense of, who are you? How can you be entirely true to yourself for the betterment of others as well? Because if you are sorted, the best work you can do for others is the work that you do for yourself.
I love to hear the ways people got there. And slightly off piece, have you done a Sparketype? Do you know?
I know, because I did the Good Life project.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Are you a learner?
I am a maven. Yes, which is the learner.
Okay, yeah. I thought that might be the case. I'm nerding out now.
Like a little link in the bio.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
It's good, isn't it? Like, just another tool for understanding who you are and how you show up in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that was the Good Life project. Can't even remember how I came across it, but it's in the States, and they ran these camps, and I went to work at one year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it meant that afterwards then I knew all about these Sparketypes and stuff. But it was inspirational, and it's very positive psychology based, which is also in my training. So it made sense.
Cool. On that note, what is the most random or worst job you've ever had in your life?
Good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't random. I mean, random jobs have been things like teaching horse riding at a summer camp, as a reasonable horse rider, but it wasn't like I was anything amazing. But it was when I was 27 and I'd finished journalism training in London, and then felt miserable, came back up to Edinburgh, and I thought, okay, well, instead of the journalism direction, I'll go into the business development direction. So I went for a job interview at a sustainable events travel company doing business development, and they rejected me. So I wrote back to them, persuaded them why they should interview me. And they were like, well, really pleased that you did that. So they invited me for interview, and then they gave me the job, and then I hated every second of it. And at 3 months, I handed in my notice and said, look, it's just not working. And they said, stay another 3 months to see how it goes. 3 months later, I handed it in again, and I've never compromised since. If I don't like it, I'm gone. It doesn't work.
So you're good at convincing people. You work hard. What was it about that job that just didn't work for you? Do you know what that was? Yeah, they were lovely people, and it was a great organisation. But the function of the job was me sitting at a desk from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. I am not a sit at a desk kind of person. Business development suggests you go out and about talking to people, but it was too early a stage, so I was doing loads of computer-based stuff down to like editing photos, and I really can't abide minutiae. Fair enough, yeah. That's good to know, and I suppose those bad jobs are informative, aren't they? I'm just wondering how you're feeling about this, because Alice is a bit younger than myself, and I think when you're young, you think your career's on a path that, goes up at an angle, but it doesn't. It quite often zips about all over the place. So was that what you're thinking about?
Yeah, I was just thinking about how you spoke already a lot about connectivity, and I wonder if that was a bit of a defining moment where you realised that that's what's important to your work, is connecting with people.
No, I probably didn't realise that until my late 30s.
Interesting. Because again, that goes back to the whole lineage of it, where you think everything's step by step and there's a guidebook that forms around you, but it never is that way.
I can see Dani shaking her head too, because I think you've done the zip around thing, and my God, you gather so many resources and skills and self-insight from that, as opposed to doing the linear thing. No, I think all that happened at 27 when I left that job was I went back into teaching again, and I had this sense of, I love this. I really love the creativity, the human interaction, but I didn't realise until later quite what those threads were. And now, have you ever heard of the connect the dots backwards? So it was a speech that some big tech guy did. But I like the point of when you look back, you can see actually that there was some sort of map that made sense, but a map need not be linear, ought not to be linear.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that maybe that random question, because I think you get to a stage and when you look back, nothing really seems that random because there are those threads. Even if they're tiny, there are threads of why you've gone the way you've gone and what you've learned from each of those experiences, right?
I feel that way, and at the time I'd never have known it. I just felt like I had leapt off a cliff and was falling and occasionally landed on a shelf and then thought this is the wrong place and leapt off again, and it was painful and scary and uncomfortable, which sounds like it would say don't do it. But in retrospect, once I came to understand, no, that was the growth, that was the career path, then I started gleefully leaping off, and it was giddy and it was fun and it was exciting because I knew actually that that it wasn't an abyss. Yeah, it was my route and I'd be taken care of.
It's hard to trust that sometimes.
Yes.
That leads us nicely to our next question about, what is the biggest risk you've taken in your working life so far?
I jacked in the business that I'd founded. So it was a risk because I'd spent 5 years building it, and that was just the point where I was, expanding, and it was lucrative, and I had all the infrastructure built, but it became like a golden handcuffs kind of thing. So, I had to make the decision, do I continue like this or do I end it and then just open myself up to... and so then it was that leap of faith that if I leave this behind in the income it generates and the direction, the path I was on, can I face? And it's very much tied into, my identity and my mental health issues. Like over the years, I spent years struggling with anxiety and depression. And that kept me doing old patterns. So I knew, it's a funny thing to say, but I knew that teaching kept me sane. So if I were to walk away from the thing that I knew was good for me, how would I cope? But I did walk away from it, and I fell into a really difficult phase. But it was from facing that and not trying to hide from it anymore, not trying to hide from myself anymore, that I don't know, my resources then just grew exponentially. I'm way more flexible now in what I can manage in terms of, because I know myself better.
I think particularly as an entrepreneur, when you build something, and that is you've put all of yourself into it and the time that you invested, because you don't keep track of it the same way you do if you're getting paid at a job, right? Because you couldn't possibly, you're thinking about it 24/7 sometimes, aren't you? So to give it up, I think, is particularly painful, and we don't really talk about that a lot as entrepreneurs, but I think we're still stuck in this failure identity. And it's not even when it's failing, it's a choice of, like you said, it was a choice to give it up. But do you want to say more about that? How are you able to let go of all that work and that time and that, like you said, identity of yourself, just going inside and trusting yourself? Or, how did you come to that conclusion?
It was in no way easy, but I guess it had got to the point where I could see myself eroding, and I had to, I don't know, the survival, the self-preservation instinct kicked in. And the way I started seeing a therapist at that time, I've seen therapists over the years, but at that time I remember saying I'm such a failure, not because the business ended, but even whilst the business was happening, I'm failing. It is not achieving this and this, and it should be. So we had to kind of peel back this fundamental thing in me that linked my own sense of self-worth and value to my achievements, and that was the big thing, because I was valueless in my own mind but for my achievements, whereas now I have separated them out. And what I said at the time, and it might sound like it's been a bit reductivist, but I really mean it. I felt like I was getting out of an abusive relationship with the business. I couldn't leave it. It was hard.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Obviously, or clearly to me, the work you've done on yourself through counselling, but also your work yourself, it's all about knowing yourself, continuing to learn and be aware, and then grow and adapt. I'm just not sure a lot of people do that, and I wonder how many businesses out there that need to go, but it's not easy. And kudos to you for coming to the conclusion that you have value without that business. Yeah,
I think I get very much what you're saying with that there'll be a lot of people can't get out of that relationship, and I suppose listening to this and I feel as though when you put yourself in the way of stories, experiences that tell a different route, a different path, it makes things possible you thought before weren't possible. So there may be somebody listening now who thinks, my God, I can leave this and start to appreciate and value what I did already, instead of looking at it as being so disappointing, and if I leave, blah, 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 blah,
Absolutely. And it's hard. I think it's hard to know when to persevere, if it's a confidence thing, or if it's if it's just fear that's stopping you, or it's something telling you, actually, this is time to let this go. This is unhealthy. I've outgrown it, or I need something new. Those distinguishing places are tricky, aren't they?
And I suppose in my role in coaching and psychotherapy, I'm constantly meeting people in transitions in their lives, and quite often they have got this impetus to change, to move. It's almost like when we meet, I'm there to so I love this story from years ago. I did a scuba diving training, and apparently if you shoot up to the surface, you might get the bends. So part of it, you have to take off your mask and take out your breathing apparatus and then put it back on underwater. So when I came to do my turn for the certificate, I got my instructor's hand and put it on my belt so that I wouldn't be compelled to fly to the surface. Just that hand on the belt, I got you here. And so I find that a lot of people come to counselling and coaching because they can do it. It is okay. They know they can. There's this instinct for more, but it's so healthy and helpful to have that anchoring force.
That's a nice analogy. I like that.
Still gives me tingles, actually.
Yeah, I really like that. Right, can you guide us through a personal experience or a professional experience that left you in a state of awe? Have a moment, because it's a big question.
Yeah, or
it's a small word.
It's a small word, a big meaning. Or is actually something I'm looking at in research at the moment.
Is it?
Like perspective shifting stuff. And you've been reading about that, haven't you? Yeah.
I like that you're researching it. So you've been thinking about the concept
a lot.
Yeah. And you're welcome to talk about that first.
Yeah. I'll talk more globally about my experiences of awe. So I mentioned the horse riding teaching. What I forgot to mention was that I then became an adventure leader across Europe for 7 summers, and wherever I was in the world, I'd come back to lead groups of American teenagers doing, these amazing outward bound type stuff. And every year I would spend my year struggling with anxiety and depression whilst doing a million things, and then I would come and pick up the group of teenagers with my couple of trip leaders. We'd drive across Europe, we'd camp, we'd hike, we'd go rock climbing, we'd go surfing, and it was awesome. It was all about awe. Everything was, we were in nature, just steeped in nature, living in it, cooking whilst you're squatting down on the ground, and you know, you're eating fruit from a box that hasn't been washed because you're earthy, and you're constantly joking and playing with each other. And then there's other moments where people are emotional and they're missing home, or they're sort of, there's something going on with them, or a guy on the trip or something. There's all these sorts of very, very human, raw, vulnerable moments. And then we do things that are a little bit out of the comfort zone, you know, rock climbing and that. So again, so each part of this, these are experiences that generate a sense of like awe. And I always felt on these trips like I was in my element and completely settled in a way that I never experienced in my daily life. Like daily life was always this internal voice, but here I was peaceful, things were in perspective.
Yeah, interesting. And do you think that's because you were in nature and the perspective was changed because you weren't dealing with kind of the more day-to-day rigmarole of kind of normal life? I put that in quotations because it's what we've made it to be normal, but it's not necessarily normal.
Yeah, I think
common life, I guess.
I think that there's various ways I would interpret what was going on, and I think just being in nature is a healer. Simple. Yeah. I think there's something about being in your body. Yep. You know, that way of like climbing into a tent and like just you're very physical. You're moving in ways that we don't move in normal life, as we're calling it. Yeah. Everything else falls away and you're very in the moment. And I think there's something about being present in the moment. You know, there's so much to say about the importance of the power of now. And again, it's that connection stuff. Like when I talk about connection, I'm thinking about it psychologically. I'm thinking about biosynchrony, the vagus nerve, all those sorts of things. Like there is actual things happening in your body. Yeah. You are stabilizing each other with your presence together. So I now look back and understand perhaps what was happening, but in situ, I was very me. That's the point. In summary, that was a place and a space and a way of being and interacting where I was 100% me, and everywhere else I was conforming or performing or lost or searching, you know.
What do you do now to kind of keep yourself grounded in your perspectives, you know, where you want them to be and feeling connected? Do you have any daily hacks, habits?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose I always shun routine because I'm not very routine-y. But in the end, routines sort of form themselves. No, the reality is I discovered when I stopped stressing my system, everything else is okay. So I used to do like 150 things simultaneously, whereas now if I feel the sort of mercury rising, my throat gets constricted, I feel tension rising, I try and shed the different things that I've got to do and keep things simple, you know. So what does that mean in practice? It means being constantly mindful of how I feel. I'm just constantly mindful of, like, it's called interoception, what's happening in your body, and proprioception, what's happening in your mind. So I stay aware and then I just respond to it as it needs.
And that takes practice, doesn't it?
It does. And I suppose the more I've done it and the more I've got the kind of feedback from the environment of, oh no, I'm not okay. Look at how snappy I've become. Oh, look, that's really blown out of proportion. Then it's like, oh, I think I overdid it this week. How can I readjust? And I do realise that's something of a gift because a lot of people don't feel they have the space for controlling their their lives as much as I do. But it was just a necessity because I had to. I just had to shed everything and strip it back. Yeah.
That makes sense, and that you've crafted that for your life because you've prioritized that as something that's necessary for you to be at your best.
It is, and for me the consequence of that is if I can be at my best, I can give my best to my clients and the people like I teach and that I coach and all the rest of it, and my relationships, the people in my life. Otherwise I'm not much use, you know.
I mean, I think it's a principle that we should all adopt, but we don't necessarily do it. So would love to hear about kind of what you're working on now, a project or where you're focused, or what's at the forefront for you.
Well, I qualify in May after 5 years of studying psychotherapy, so I will my coaching business will now expand, so it will be coaching and psychotherapy. So right now I'm just refocusing what I'm offering and starting to think about, okay, so where can I work with people? What kind of spaces? Do I work in the outdoors? Do I work face to face? And so it's really about, what I'm doing with the Good Life School. It's the name of my organisation. But I have joined the steering committee for pluralistic psychotherapy in the UK, and I'm finding that really exciting, particularly a diversity division I've joined. And we're looking at writing a paper about experiences of inclusivity, EDI, equity, diversity and inclusivity in therapy among therapists and clients. So yeah, that feels thrilling because it's the bit with the seeing clients part, and then there's the part where I get to feed my maven, my love of learning and thinking about new ideas and all the rest of it. So yeah, that's
so new and exciting.
It is.
And 5 years is a long time to be focused on. Yeah, coming to the end of that must be exciting for you.
It is, but it's not as though when I started that I knew I was going to go in that direction. So I started because it appealed to me, but all the way along I was saying, but I don't know if I'll end up being a therapist. I just know I want to do this step. Oh, this works for me. I'll do the next step. I'll do the next one.
Right.
So it's cumulative 5 years. The last program's only been 3.
Okay.
So I'm not as excited to finish as everyone else in my program because I've loved
you like
it.
to learn.
I've been in absolute heaven. I don't want to lose that.
Yeah. Oh, but each client will. I suppose that's the beauty of psychotherapy and counselling. Each client is a learning opportunity.
Yeah, what I've been sort of noticing in myself now is when someone comes and they have something going on, I'm thinking, I could make a video about that. Maybe I could do a resource for it. I should start my podcast.
Yeah, you should. Absolutely. On that note, do you have a 5-year plan?
Oh, God, no, absolutely not.
I almost didn't ask you that question because you already said you don't like routine.
I literally don't. Yeah, I have directionality, which is a pluralistic term. I have a sense of I'm going in the right direction, trust it, keep going. And it's going to be something around sharing or bi-directional sharing of learning. And it's going to be working with clients in a variety of capacities. Beyond that, who knows?
Yeah, you're open.
I'm open.
And always learning.
Always.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Alice, do you want to ask any questions? Have I missed out anything?
I think I've just been thinking back to a particular word that you used, which is a simple word, and it's relationship, and the relationship that you have with your work and yourself. And I was just thinking about how we think of the word relationship and we think about personal relationships with people, but actually if we think about relationships with work, it just opens up a whole different way of thinking about work, which is actually really important. So it's not just money, but satisfaction and self-satisfaction and all of those things that are attached to it.
Absolutely. And when you say that makes me think of and contribution, so that self-satisfaction goes both ways. If you're working in your wheelhouse, if this is where your strengths are, and then imagine the contribution you can make, as opposed to work just being the daily grind. Work has the potential to be an expression of who you are and a way for you to develop a way for you to contribute. But because it's a relationship, work can also feel abusive. It could feel claustrophobic. It could feel ill-fitting, bad relationship, better get out of it. Sorry.
No, I love that. And it's a nice full circle. Considering we're called Working for Progress, it is about the relationship with your work and with yourself, and also how you show up in the world, hopefully to make it better than when you arrived. I mean, if we all did that, things would be great. So thank you so much for your time.
No problem at all. It was really interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Lorna for joining us today. If you would like to find out more about Good Life School, you can find them via their website, which is linked in our bio. To hear more about Tribe Porty and Keystone, you can find us on all social media platforms. Please head over to our websites and subscribe to our newsletters, which includes monthly blogs to provide helpful insights into how we craft our working lives. This has been Working for Progress. We hope you join us again.